Yes, people, welcome back to Canary Cast. Good to see you back here. Do us a favour and like, comment, subscribe while you're here. That helps out massively. Thank you. Right, this is the first of what will probably be a lot of transfer rumour videos connecting players to Norwich this window. Going to talk about Robert Andrich and probably Hamza Choudhury today. I think they're probably both replacements if we don't get Skip, if it is indeed the truth. Jacob, do you think that's the case, mate? Looking for Skip replacement here?
Yeah, or potentially, I think with both of these guys, quite a bit of added height, both over 6 foot,
Yeah.
and then very physical presences, which we lacked a lot of last year. I think Kenny McLean has been incredible this year, but he could potentially be maybe the furthest forward if we don't get a very proactive 10 in the summer. So maybe you're thinking more of a kind of defensive-based free midfield where you have two kind of enforcers, maybe alongside Skip, if we keep it, which would be incredible. But yeah, you're probably thinking in case of the Choudhury one, I would say he'd probably be a replacement for if you don't get Skip rather than Andrich, who I think comes in regardless of if Skip stays or not.
Yeah, I think it is all resting on Skip and what happens with this Tottenham manager, really, isn't it? And then we'll see a reaction after that as to if we can get Skip back for another year or not. All right, then. Let's talk about this Robert Andrich guy, because I know you've been speaking to Dan O'Hagan, who knows his Bundesliga stuff. So fill us in, mate. What's the deal?
Yeah, let's just go to my phone to completely quote properly. Apparently, he's comfortable as a 6 or an 8 in the centre of midfield. Has been generally attacking this season. Obviously, scored 5 goals in the league, 2 assists. He's been a bit of a late bloomer because he's been playing in the second division since 2019. But the last couple of seasons, he's kind of stood out. And Berlin are kind of similar to Norwich in terms of kind of getting promoted, taking on the big boys. And this year they've done really well. Did get a silly red card and has had a couple of bookings this year. He does look like a bit of a beast, doesn't he? In terms
he looks like he's hard as nails.
Let's not exactly. But that's probably what Norwich need. Like I say, 6'2", big presence, looks comfortable on both feet. Seen him kind of hit good passes and shots with right foot and updated or posted a video yesterday where he scored a lovely one with his left as well. So that's always a bonus. Apparently, he's probably a more rounded and better kind of all-round player than Kenny McLean, which is a big kind of say from Dan himself, because Kenny's been brilliant this year.
Yeah,
obviously not as good as Skip, probably a bit more of a technical tete is the word that have been used. Okay. And he's out of contract in 2022, so really he's going to be a snippet for what his actual value is.
Yeah, it could be a very nice price. 5 goals, 2 assists in the Bundesliga, which is absolutely nothing to be sniffed at. It's a good standard there. I've got a bit of a theory about what Stuart Webber's trying to do here, if indeed we are after him, Jacob. And I think it's to add goals to the midfield. Because you think, all right, this season, Kenny's grabbed 2 goals, 6 assists, the Championship. If you think back to when we were in the Prem, we had Pukki on 11 goals, Cantwell on 6, and I don't think anyone else got above 1. I mean, Kenny got 1 against Man City, Branchett scored 1, but players didn't get more than 1, even Buendia. So I think if they're seeing this guy add 5 goals from midfield in the Bundesliga, perhaps they're thinking in a side that have stayed up and bucked the trend, they're expected to go down. They're a smaller team. And they've seen that and thought, well, if he can bring that to our team, plus the added size that you've already spoken about, we could really be onto something. What do you think?
I think a bit of a ball carrier as well. I think that's what we've been crying out for ourselves, isn't it, for ages, really. Yeah. I know Kenny does sometimes offer it, but for me now, he's that solid 2. I think they've kind of morphed him into that rather than kind of a number 10 who can go forward. In a 3, potentially, he could be that further forward one. But with Andrich, he's obviously physical, strong, and tall. So in terms of being a bit of a bustling midfielder, because let's be honest, last season, when you're talking about attacking output, like you're saying, it was really Buendia trying to thread it through to Pukki or Cantwell moving and then finding space. We do need a couple of alternatives when the game's ugly. Your Burnleys, your Palaces, to be able to have a big lad in there who can take the ball forward. And he likes a shot from range, which I don't think we did enough of last year. I think we've improved that with the likes of Emmy this year. But when you're the better team, you're going to have more shots and everything like that. Yeah. You need to make sure you can take advantage of the opportunities when they're there. I think we lacked so much physicality last year. And that's the key moment for me. I think you need that physicality in there to really imprint yourself in on games, because we lost them far too easily in that midfield battle last year, didn't we? Brighton, Burnley, Palace, all 2-0 defeats away from home. You need to be a lot more solid in the whole kind of game to give yourself a chance to win points and then eventually stay up.
I couldn't agree more. We do need across the park. There is also a fabulous own goal that he scored. It was I think Eintracht Frankfurt beat Union 5-2. It's that game. But relatively recently, passed it back to the keeper from about 40 yards. It ends up in the net.
There's also a brilliant clip, Joe, of him. Sorry, your internet is shite.
No, you're all right.
Your internet is bad.
Yeah, it's having a moment again. It was been all right recently, but let's hope it sorts itself out. Let's move on to Hamza Choudhury, because it's a player that most people will be familiar with, especially with that afro. I would love to see that in the starting 11. What do you make of that in general?
Yeah, I think this is probably more of a skip replacement than Andrich would be. Good player. Just lost his way a little bit. He's probably been quite controversial in the last few months. Had a silly lockdown house party like Madison. He's only 23 though. Scored a brilliant goal against Newcastle a couple of years ago. Not really a goal scorer. He will be a kind of defensive midfielder who kind of plays the ball nicely. Learned very well at Leicester and played really well at Bolster on loan a couple of times. He's a good enforcing figure in terms of, again, height. That afro adds a couple of inches as well, doesn't it? But no, very good on the ball. Probably not as quick as Skip, not as mobile and agile, but he's not bad. He's not Tom Tribal kind of slow. And a good enforcer again. I think a loan to Norwich could be the perfect situation for him. We're definitely not going to buy him permanently. No. He's only 23. I imagine Leicester would probably want to see a return of to at least 20 million on him. Yeah. So that's just not going to happen. But I think there's definitely a player there, and at Premier League level, he could definitely do a job. Me thinking of him, Andrich, and maybe McLean in there. Wow, that would be a really imposing midfield, which would be quite nice to see.
It's nice that throughout all of this, we're still adamant that Kenny should be starting, because he's been superb, hasn't he? He really has. I can't see us buying someone to displace him this summer, can you?
Well, Daniel Farke said in the Prem he's irreplaceable. And to be fair, he's improved his game tenfold this season for me compared to the Premier League. Even a couple of years ago when we were in the Championship, I was thinking, I like Kenny, but I don't really know fully what he offers. He kind of seemed to just fit in when there was injuries and stuff. And I was always thinking Mario Vancic was a better option because he's better on the ball. But Kenny's just improved his game magnificently this year. A lot better positionally, covers the fullback superbly, gets forward probably less, but still good amount of assist, didn't you say? 6-7 and then 2 goals, which is a nice return for him. I think next year would be a big thing for him. That kind of against a team that will dominate the ball a lot more. I'd like to see how he does against those kind of teams because we haven't faced that this year, and to see if he really has improved that kind of to Premier League level. But yeah, I think, like you say, he definitely deserves to be 100% starting at the start of the season, and hopefully will give good competition with the likes of hopefully an Andrich or a Choudhury, and then hopefully Skip stays as well. Then that midfield, which I think we were really weak in a couple of years ago, is strong, and that's what really needs to happen this year. Yeah,
it would feel a lot better heading into the Prem with the midfield more like that one. Certainly would. Okay, so this is going to be the first of a lot of these videos probably that will be linked with all sorts of players being a new Prem team. Stuart Webber's phone is probably already ringing off the hook. So they are already rumours, Jacob. There's a few sources reporting it, so we thought we'd do a video. But in all seriousness, in reality now, either of these transfers, A, can you see them happening, and B, would you be for it?
Andrich, I can see, because, a year left, Bundesliga stinks of Daniel Farke and Stuart Webber kind of scouting.
Good price as well.
Yeah, good price, like we say, only a year left, probably 4 or 5 million, which is a little bit more than what Norwich would normally pay, but that's going to happen this year. I think we'll probably have a few 5 to maybe even 10 million pound players, which will be superb. You've got to go for it this year. If you're going to keep the likes of Emmy, you might as well give it a go to try and keep him long term and stay in this league. Andrich, I could see happening. Big physical presence, has done well. He's expressed an interest to play in the Premier League before, so maybe it is a convenient link. But no, that is one I'd look at. Choudhury for me is probably slightly less like to Newcastle linked. I can see him maybe going to another Premier League team, which is kind of more formed and stayed in the league longer. But he would be a really nice addition. I think that relies on Skip. It'd be interesting to see how long we give Tottenham for that, because I imagine the new manager will want to see him in pre-season, and then you only really have a couple of weeks left before he could then come and join us.
And Stuart Webber likes doing business early. We know that.
Exactly. I think, and Daniel Farke likes it as well, doesn't he? He doesn't like. He has a very regimented pre-season kind of system with Chris Domagala, and he wants those players in and up to his kind of level of fitness that he's ready to kind of then portray on the field. For me, you've got to give kind of Spurs maybe very early on, and after the Euros, you need to be sorting out Skip as soon as possible. For me, I think if he doesn't come back, he's been incredible, and I'd move heaven and earth to keep him. But let's not kind of let it affect the pre-season. And I think Webb will be exactly in that thought process where he's been brilliant to keep, but he must have had negotiations with Spurs already, you'd imagine. And if it's not going to happen, these kind of replacements, that level of replacement, if it's not these two guys, it needs to be on the same level, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Excited about Andrich. I think it adds up. It fits well. Prices sounds decent, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd rather have Skip than Choudhury, but we do need someone like that, one of them. I completely agree. I think we'll leave it there, but I think we've covered everything. Let us know what you think will happen. Who do you think will be playing in front of the defence for Norwich next season? We will find out. But until next time, thanks for watching. See you later. Cheers.